Hi there, I am Jeff Hayek. I am the owner and founder of Valaction Continuous Improvement. This is the second episode of my new series, Ramblings of a Continuous Improvement Coach. Today, I want to talk about setting a strategy for self-improvement. As I mentioned in the last episode, while there are terrible things going on in the world, many of you have an unprecedented opportunity to slow down a bit and take stock of yourself. When things are hectic, you have to focus externally. You just find yourself reacting. But those of you quarantined or isolated might have a lot less of that daily pressure. With vast portions of the world grinding to a halt, you may be seeing a lot fewer calls and emails and deadlines you have to deal with. That means you've got some time to look inwards. So how do you go about doing a self-assessment? I'd start out by thinking of the job that you have and then the job that you want, and start listing the skills and characteristics you think are essential in those roles. Then check your work. Look at job descriptions online for your job and the next one you want, and list the skills and responsibilities you see posted there. Once you have your list and the job website list, compare them to see how closely you align with hiring managers. Make sure that what you think is important lines up with how the people counting on you and assessing you see things. This step might take a bit of effort, especially if the things that you are good at isn't high in the job site list, or what you see as important is wildly different from what hiring managers want. But it is important that you distill the list down into something that you can work from. Once you get this set of requirements, you'll have to assess how important each item is and how well you stack up in those areas. Let's jump over to my computer for a bit, and I can show you a tool for doing this. Okay, now we're on my desktop here, and basically what this is my decision matrix template. There's a long video on how to set this all up. Look at it on YouTube and as part of my subscription service. So I'm not going to get into the details about how I got to this point. You can go and watch one of those other videos and see that. What I do want to talk about, though, is the process I've been mentioning. You're going to go through and you're going to find all these different things that play a role in the job that you want or how you want to be prepared for your next role. And you're going to have a set of skills, some education, different traits that you're looking at, and some experience. And all those things are going to pile on to create the perfect employee, the perfect set of factors that will help you in your future role. So what I've done here is I've given each one, and the skill one might be, Microsoft Office or whatever is important, and there might be some traits about compassionate leadership or whatever it is that you come up with, continuous improvement, problem solving, maybe one of your skills. So you're going to put the skills in there, and I just did this for generic purposes. But you're going to have weights, and these weights are actually these are decimal weights. When we selected the criteria, we actually put in a weight. And like I said, I wasn't going to get into this too much, but basically what this does is it weights it and says experience 2 is your baseline, and skill 1 is 4 times as important. And then you decide where everything else fits in that spectrum. So it gives you a ranking, it gives you a set of, basically it gives you this weighting system, and then you copy it over to here. And when you score yourself, this is the current situation. I say I'm a 7 at skill 1. I have the education, and generally I'll use a 0 through a 9. So 9 means I have that education. And you might want to be a little bit more discreet in it. Maybe it wasn't a very good school you went to and you give yourself a 7. But I'm just saying if you have that education, it's a 9. I'm a 3 at skill 2, a 5. And this is basically how I looked at myself. But I didn't have experience 1. I did have experience 2, but it wasn't very much of it. And I had education, and maybe I did have a better experience here. Maybe it was like a 5. And what I did here is I said, okay, going back to school, if I wanted to get this education in, maybe that was one of the requirements, but I didn't think it was very important. It has a weighting of 1. I would get the 9 here, and it'd jump my raw score up, but my overall would only go to a 119.4. If I went back to work on my skills and I thought I could get skill 1 bumped up and skill 2 bumped up, it would give me a raw score of 38, but it'd be a little bit less than going back to school. So this going back to school gives me a higher final weighted score over here. And it wasn't like that before I changed this experience. So the experience, as you see how things go, it'll look a little different. So maybe when I did my skills, I also decided I wanted to work on this one, and this one goes up to a 7. And now you're at a 125. So It's a useful tool for figuring out what to work on first. And you can add lines in here if there's different options on how to get better. But what it does is it lets you decide the impact you think you can have on each of these traits in terms of the total, like the trait score. And then it tells you about the total weighted score, what you're going to look like as this future employee with these new skills down the road. So that's basically how a decision matrix template works, and to let you decide what to go forward and work with and work on and try and get better at your new role. Okay, let's go back to the other part of the video. Okay, now you know what you think is important and how you are doing in those areas. The next step is to develop an action plan. Some of these skills are going to take a while to build up. Some might just take a shifting of how you behave or how you spend your time. And some might land in the middle somewhere and take a focused application of time to take some classes or watch some videos. The key is to make a realistic plan that is based on some actual scrutiny rather than gut feel. And I want to stress realistic. You've got to commit to the action items that you put on your plan. If you don't, it's just like a 5-year-old's Christmas list. Okay, you've got work to do, so I'll wrap up here. I encourage you to get started sooner rather than later. There's a compounding effect to improvement. Every day you use to get better today gives you a better base to build on tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Again, I am Jeff Hajek. Best of luck on your continuous improvement journey.